This video is intended for evidence recovery personnel to assist them in the collection and preservation of forensic soil samples. I'm Jody Webb, a geologist forensic examiner at the FBI laboratory. We also include in this video a brief introduction into soil variability and its causes, as well as the role of geology in search strategies. This video is not intended to supersede your agency's policies or procedures. Soil evidence can be useful for determining how and where an incident has occurred. Soil on evidence items like shoes, shovels, or vehicles may be compared to crime scene or alibi locations. Reference soils collected from these locations are often called known or exemplar samples. We will show strategies for collection of known samples and appropriate packaging for evidentiary items and known soils. We will first demonstrate collection of known soil from the surface, which is relevant for cases in which soil may have been transferred in the absence of digging. For example, for comparison to soil on footwear or vehicle tires. Then we will show collection of subsurface soils which are relevant when soils may have been entrenched with digging tools. Sampling soils which represent the variability of crime scene or locations of interest requires some thought to developing a sampling plan. If you have the opportunity, acquire overhead imagery and soil maps before going on scene. It may also be helpful to consult with personnel with expertise on the local soils. At this site, skeletal remains are found near a culvert. Sample near evidence, in this case the skeleton, and from areas with visible soil or vegetation differences, as well as areas of possible entry or exit. At this scene, there is a distinct color difference along the road and a side road. If there are no visible differences, collect known soils in a systematic pattern, for example a grid, or cardinal directions to capture potential variation. The yellow evidence markers represent a possible known soil sampling scheme. Document the location of each soil collected. Surface known soils should be collected from the top layer of soil down to no more than about ½ inch or 2 centimeters. A portion of this road has coarse material. To represent this material, a larger volume is collected. Impression evidence left in soil, such as shoe and tire tracks, can potentially associate these items to the scene. In addition, soil on these items could be compared to soil from the impression. Look for soil variation or foreign soil within or near the impression. After documenting the impression with photography and/or casting, collect soil in or immediately adjacent to the impression, capturing all apparent variation. Also, collect any foreign soil as a separate sample. If soils are moist, cover them with porous paper like a coffee filter or lab wipe and allow it to dry in a secure and clean environment. Package soil aggregates to preserve structures present. When collecting soils at a soil disturbance such as a burial site, it is important to collect them to represent the variation down to the deepest point of the soil disturbance. Examine the grave for marks from digging tools or shoes. Clean the profile top to bottom, away from areas of decomposition products. Collect each layer as a separate sample and record the location, depth, and description of each. Avoid the mixed soil at the bottom or adjacent to the pit. Sample the layers from the bottom to the top. If there are apparent variations within a soil layer, collect the different components as separate samples. If no soil layers are visible, collect samples from the bottom, middle, and top of the grave at a minimum. Note and collect any foreign soils or other materials. They may be adhering to a buried person or object or anywhere else in the pit. Foreign soil or other materials such as these can also be found on the surface.
So the police have received intelligence that a suspect may have been at this location, perhaps from witness information or from GPS telematics in a vehicle. This means that this is not a crime scene, but it's a search location, and this part of the video is to demonstrate search to you. The officers here have been walking in a line search with metal detectors. We're also going to see ground penetrating radar and marking out disturbances in the ground, metal indications or anomalies on the ground penetrating radar. These would then be probed, possibly for dogs to come and scent, or they would be excavated on their own by an anthropologist. The flags indicate where typical line search evidence has been noted and marked. For instance, shell casings, cigarette butts, etc. But for this exercise, areas of disturbed ground, enhanced or reduced, or unusual vegetation are also marked. All of these may indicate ground disturbance and a possible burial. Independent, but allied to these ground searches, is the deployment of geophysics, such as GPR, as seen here. Metal detection and other methods may be used. Together, soil disturbance, the vegetation changes, geophysics, and indications from cadaver dogs after probing, these are not shown, enable a decision on whether to forensically excavate, which will expose any buried objects, and the soil profiles needing sampled as in this video.
Not all soils are alike. Soils can vary in a short distance based on a number of properties, including topography. For more information about soils and how they vary across landscapes, contact your land-grant university or your U.S. Department of Agriculture or Natural Resource Conservation Service office.
Soils can easily escape from packaging. Use rigid containers that can be tightly sealed and which will not corrode. Do not use unlined paint cans. If possible, submit the item with adhering soil. Package these items to preserve all potential evidence such as DNA. Breathable packaging may risk loss of soil evidence, so reinforcing seals is recommended. Because digging tools are sharp and heavy, package to minimize movement and abrasion during transport. Here are a few improvised approaches. To reduce potential contamination, ship sealed soil evidentiary items separate from the known soil samples. This video has been produced with the cooperation of the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment, the Organization of Scientific Area Committees, the FBI, and the IUGS Initiative on Forensic Geology. This is a companion to the ASTM International Soil Collection Guide. For more detailed information, refer to the IUGS Initiative on Forensic Geology, a guide to forensic geology. We encourage you to contact the FBI laboratory or the IUGS Initiative on Forensic Geology for help and assistance with forensic geology cases.